Thank you everyone for joining. This is the Advancing Tech August Entrepreneur Panel event. We have Jonathan.
Hi everybody, how are you? Give a little introduction. My name is Jonathan Milking. I Army for 5 years, did a little bit of strategic, did a little bit of tactical, from SOC Corps in Korea to 7th Group. Got out of the Army, couldn't really figure it out, fell into tech. Was on a product team building out a platform that did threat detection off social media, then fell into corporate sales and did pretty well. So really just ended up joining Vets in Tech, learned from Donald and learned from Catherine, and really just give back to the community and see what I can do to help other veterans like myself. That's me in a nutshell. So yeah.
We have Stefan, who has been lucky enough to invest into my startup as well.
Privileged.
Privileged.
Hi, I'm Stefan Recchi. I graduated in New York, grew up in Washington Heights, went to high school in the Bronx Science. My relationship to vets would be my dad was a prisoner of war back in World War II, before World War II. Never served, but I did volunteer for the Coast Guard. So. I run an angel group. The thing about our angel group is we have 45 investors. It's trust-based. Most of us went to high school together. We have a lot of fun. And we invest in things that are not stupid, people that are cool. Let's talk more about that. Maybe, yeah, as we listen to your pitches.
How would you debate that?
Okay. People that are cool?
Sure.
Okay. I just managed to be blessed by a couple of cool exits. Personally, I was in sales for 20 years and had some really cool exits and have some financial capacity to help seed the entrepreneurial world. I'm also focused on space, going together a global entrepreneurship network for space.
Space Force.
Space. Well, there's a lot of cool shit in space that is the next wave of being involved in the internet in the 70s. That's what I'm involved with. I do a lot of global space.
So you're working on the sequel to Space Force 2?
Yeah. Space Force.
Yeah.
All in all, I love giving back in terms of mentoring. I'm a board member of a bunch of our investment portfolio companies, advisor. I also teach at Colorado, University of Denver. I teach people how to do presentations. So, not to put any pressure on you. I also teach sales. So it's all about fun, right? And if you're not having fun, why do it? That's maybe my philosophy.
So Steph has been integral to our company in meeting people, getting hardware vendors, and a bunch of other shit. So as a founder, I ask all of our investors a lot. Constantly pushing them to help me solve my hard problems. So.
And you should. So the other thing I do is I go around the world teaching entrepreneurs how to work with investors. There's like a secret code language that the investors use, and I think it's bullshit. I really think that if the entrepreneur doesn't know how to sell to the investor or understand how the investor thinks, so my pitch, you can probably find it online somewhere, is when an entrepreneur speaks, what I hear is an investor. And it's amazingly well received because I'll challenge, no offense to accelerators or incubators, most accelerators and incubators don't have the investor mentality in terms of teaching them how to work with the investor. It's not about making a pretty slide, it's about how do you make that sale happen, how do you close that deal. And that's what I love doing. So I'm all happy to tell you all the secrets of why investors invest too. So.
Definitely happy to piggyback on that. Hey guys, sweet. Basically spent the past 10 years of my career all around the world. Consumer, later stage investing, early stage investing. My relationship to military, service, civilian, but the world of West Point and military academy is actually living my blood, focused with my entire life. My father, he was running his own business, one of my closest business friends. I was a retired corporal, Colonel, over at West Point, and thanks to that, he was actually got the blessed opportunity to teach the kids economics as a professor at West Point. So thanks to that, yeah. So it was pretty awesome. He doesn't ever talk about that, which is kind of amazing doing basic training, we're working with jamborees, unfortunately partaking in some of the IOCT. That was not fun, but fun, of course. Yeah, I know it's very torture. So I have a lot of very, very, very deep respect, love, and admiration for the military, personally. So, and when Donald, who I've helped in the past when he was starting at Untitled Chapter and everything in the past couple of years, asked me to come help judge the panel, I immediately, of course, because it's the least that I can do, especially for what I believe veterans is really able to give to this ecosystem. And I think that more and more investors across the community need to see that. And it's getting better as well with organizations like Untitled Chapter, Labs, and so forth. So again, 10 years, first 5 years was in private equity consulting, so consulting from later stage side of companies, focusing mostly on the local consumer. My background is in biomedical engineering, focused on biomechanics, so synthetics, robotics, environment, private equity, consumer. Question, but the firm started and run by engineers. So pretty awesome to work alongside practicing your craft and working with a lot of amazing companies, especially in the chemical space. Transition to the startup world, 2017, helped a dev shop basically just do business stuff until I met my person, my now boss, at Untitled. So then we started the venture capital firm together, a consumer products focused VC vertical brand country. It's also based here in the Seattle, New York office. So I was there for 3.5 years from the beginning of 2014 to last August. It focused on seed investments, early stage investments into local consumer products. Companies you may know, Warby Parker, Birchbox, Harry's, Peloton, all day more cousins. Companies like Aldridge, companies like Lola, Rockets Boston, The Wing, like one of the most successful consumer startups. I'm now working and helping startups on the side as I'm working with my next move. I'm also then currently the VC residence over at Galvanize, the place that we're sitting here. I see Chase in the corner, guys to talk about it. It's an organization in a space that you should absolutely consider spending time in, events, co-working, so on and so forth, because it's an amazing network of people from large corporates and venture-backed startups, and people in between, plus it's 50 hours per week, which is bonus. But it's just a great community. I'm really excited to just see how I can be helpful. Plus, we have to figure out how we're going to do this, but I'm giving away something that's in this little container. It's basically a faded, like Stars and Stripes style of the U.S. Constitution. It was given to me from my friends over at Huckberry. Huckberry is this amazing deal site with some of the most cool products that you can find around the world. And I thought that this would be pretty pertinent for an opportunity for giveaway because, again, people in service, they're awesome, gals are awesome, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Make a play for it.
Cage match. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So we're also going to bring our friends from the set up.
Yep.
And they're offering a fantastic million discount, which we didn't have to talk about, but I'm sure they are.
Yeah. I guess we should say.
50% million discount?
Of course, no. Well, I'll give you guys a rundown. Ascent, it's a 2-day tech conference in New York City. Really what we're here to do is support guys in tech. One of our VPs, Carlos, did his Ranger came forward. Yeah, and we're here to represent that, but mainly Ascent. We're bringing together 2,000 people total, 200 startups, a bunch of investors, angel VCs. It's invite really. So that's why we're here. Anybody who's interested in either attending or, there are any startup here that would like to get in front of the investors. We definitely talk and come see us afterward. It's going to be a great event. So October 3rd and 4th, New York City is here for this. So yes.
Another thing, a lot of guests will be eligible for it. There's going to be an app you can download. You can actually set a time slot with a VC or an investor. So you'll be able to get a lot of one-on-one time with people in your particular vertical. So if you're in fintech, if you're a consumer goods, no matter what it is, you'll actually be able to get someone who invests specifically into that vertical. So it's going to be an interesting time, a lot of people, and good opening night gala is going to be there as well. So free booze.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Terrence?
Sometimes I go by Chase. I'll just say briefly, hello and welcome. For those of you who are new, especially welcome. And for those of you who are from other businesses and back here again, welcome back. So we already mentioned we were what we do here. So I'll keep it brief. We have education programs in web development and data science. We're on some part-time programs. We are home over 50 venture-backed startups. Techstars New York City Accelerator Program, female founders fund, university ventures, IBM Thought for Launch, Investors, Innovation Lab, and Partridge Country. So, we're absolutely honored and privileged to have that's in tech in our space, and we love supporting these events moving forward. Every time we're down, comes back, and please, let me get out of the way so you guys can do what you came here to do. We're welcome here.
Thank you guys. Galvin, awesome. Cheers. Thursday last week I was at Galvin, so they're awesome. Of course, we're going to let me into the end.
Sure.
All right, so it's going to be 2 minutes verbal pitch with about a minute or so question and answer. If the panel does not have questions, the crowd can then ask questions as well. So, yeah, you first?
Come on.
All right, let's dig into the beginning. You get an extra 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Cool. And I get a microphone?
This is being live streamed though. So
No.
for the thousands of fans.
Thousands of fans out there? Sweet. And I'm operating without a deck, even better.
Decks are not important.
Decks are not important, for sure. Here, I can get it.
There you go.
Here.
Stick that in.
We'll figure it out.
Just stick a holding in your pocket.
Okay. All right. So we're good? All right, everybody. Hi. My name is Dan Evans. I'm the founder of Storm King Analytics. I'm going to give you a quick introduction to a platform that we're developing right now. We actually have a working prototype called Vumbua, which is Swahili for discover. Quick background. So I'm a retired Army officer. I was an infantry officer, operations research analyst. My last job in the Army, I taught economics at West Point. So we may have crossed paths somewhere. We'll have to figure that out. I was fortunate. The idea that I'm briefing was actually born at West Point. So I ended up working at a research center after I retired that studies the math behind terrorism networks. And as part of this work, I ended up spending the majority, of the last 5 or 6 years on the African continent. So I spent a lot of time looking at networks in terms of economic development, startup ecosystems, humanitarian assistance, disaster response type missions, and using this emerging science in order to develop better decisions for military leaders. Along the way, light bulb happened. I'm constantly in Africa and I see the potential, and I start to meet really interesting people in hotel bars, airports, and there was a trend. They are investors and business people who are wandering around the continent without a map, trying to figure out who they needed to know. And I heard this constant refrain. I don't have any information. I don't know who I need to go. I keep hiring these people. I waste a lot of money and I get no results. So a light bulb went off, speaking to a guy who's become a friend of mine who invests in West Africa. And the light bulb that went off was the math that we're developing to determine which terrorists we're going to take out tonight is the exact same math that you can use to determine who we're going to take out for dinner the next time we're in Lagos. Different data, same math. So as I started to talk to commercial companies, investors, private equity firms, I sensed there was some interest. So we did some initial work, mostly government work still, but we did a couple initial commercial projects and another light bulb went off in my head. This is a repeatable process. So the same data I collect for one company, I can sell to another company. And then what I started to notice was the software we were using was horrendous. It didn't allow us to pivot on the fly. It didn't allow us to do interesting things. I was working for a general in Djibouti, another garden spot. He asked me a what-if question. We couldn't do it right away. So I said, you know what? We can do better. So we developed a SaaS platform based off of the analytics that the leading counterterrorism in the world use that allow investors and businesses to connect to the right people in frontier and emerging markets. And we've built it on a web-based platform. When we're talking to people in the defense field, we call it Palantir for people without PhDs. It's the opposite of Palantir. It works in a browser. It gives the user very clear information. We identify the signal and the noise, and it's very easy to use. And it doesn't require a consultant. It doesn't require proprietary information. And the key to this whole thing that makes it work is our operational experience. So my core team is 9 people. 7 of the 9 are veterans. The one who's not a veteran, she's actually a former CIA operator. Her husband is a vet, still in the Navy. And the one lone person is an Oxford PhD who does a lot of our back-end analytics. So I got 3 PhDs on my team, 2 are vets. And what we really focus on, what that the other people in this field aren't doing, is we're fusing science and art. So we have the science, but we take into account the cultural and historical implications of the ecosystem we're looking at. So what we're looking at is, I just finished a problem in Zimbabwe that we were doing some work for the US government, and we really needed to understand the clan structure in Zimbabwe to understand Zimbabwe. We just also did a project in Liberia recently, and I just came from a meeting talking to some people about another project in Liberia where we had to understand the tribal structure. We had to understand which families supported which groups during the ongoing civil war. So we incorporate these cultural aspects with the science. So we call it smart data. So we provide accurate, actionable data sets into our browser. So right now we're talking to private equity firms, mostly hedge funds, but we also think that the platform is robust enough to do other types of complex data as well. So that's where we kind of have this idea about Palantir for people without PhDs. And that's my pitch.
Dan, I know that there's a little bit of a slight behind as you can't, you don't have your...
Yeah, it's a very visual thing.
If you don't mind walking me through, I'm very familiar with Palantir,
Yeah.
obviously, but can you walk me through your UI? So if I were to log into your web-based platform,
Sure.
What would I do? What would I get? What
Sure.
would I need to fill in?
Okay, and I can show you on our demo in a little bit, but basically what it is, it's an intuitive interface. Right now it has 3 drop-downs. So you identify the continent, the country, the sector, click the button, and you get an interactive network diagram that allows you to self-explore, and we highlight all the key people and groups that you should know based on the background. So our goal was to make it very simple, and we're still working on it a bit, but some of the initial feedback I got from one of our first customer discovery interviews was, I'd like one of my analysts to be able to use it in the shop. Give me 80% accuracy now, and I want them to enjoy using it. I want them to smile while they use it. So that's our goal, is to our user interface. So right now it includes, when you click on a particular piece of information, a baseball card opens up that has information about the person, all the things, why they're important, and and we give you a top 10 list. And we have a couple of innovative visualizations we've developed as well.
And then my second follow-up question real quick is, after they find that, I guess, Spiderweb Network or individual
Sure.
that they might want to contact, do they then come to you and ask you to make the connection, or do they do it themselves?
Well, that's our thought was initially we give the customer enough information that they can come back to us with much more focused, targeted questions, so we could have more customized engagements if we need to, or maybe it's just enough information because built into the platform, for instance, if we tell you you need to know the following 5 people, you can also identify within the visualization who you might already know, and it gives you the optimal path between them. And kind of the example I've been using is a lot of product out there right now is a telephone book. So there's a couple of potential competitors we know that have produced telephone books. What we do is we identify who you need to know in the telephone book. A telephone book works well if I know I'm looking for you. But if I don't know I'm looking for you, it does me no good. So what we do is we basically bookmark and say, this is the person you need to know, and give you some options about the best way to get to know them. And then later on, based off of some government work that we're doing, so on the government side, we've done some additional work on this, where we're talking about intervening in networks in order to create desired outcomes.
That's
So we're going to be giving It's a decision recommendation engine based off of how do you outmaneuver your competition.
Quick summary, have you made any revenue and are you raising money?
All of our revenue right now comes from the more traditional consulting side. The software, I just had a meeting last week with some attorneys. We're spinning it out into a separate C Corp, and we're going kind of through the Steve Blank traditional 4 steps to epiphany model. We're talking to potential customers, trying to make sure that we address. And one of the things we noticed, or we discovered recently, was there's some other verticals that we didn't know that people have interest, particularly speaking with some people about KYC and AML compliance. Okay.
Good time for it?
Sure.
So financial question, are you looking for money?
Yes.
How much?
So we have a SIBR in right now. We're waiting on that. So in the meantime, we've gotten a lot of traction over the last couple months. So we're looking right now for $500,000 pre-seed. Just talking to the attorney about getting smart on safes. And yeah, we want to keep the traction going. And our thought was we should find out about the SIBR in November, December. And based off of where we are then, we can reassess whether we need to raise more money. Obviously, the SIBR is a kind of a no-brainer to take if it's offered.
Good. And what are you going to do with money?
So we're going to build the next version of the platform. The other thing that we learned from the KYC discussion I'm going to be in Geneva talking to some bankers at the end of the month who have some interest in this, was we need to improve our data collection. So one of my team members who's a PhD in computer science has an idea about creating what we've called a collaborative machine-human data ingest tool. So it involves some machine learning and some web scraping, but it also fuses this art and science. So the ability to pull in data more quickly than we do now, but with a human expert who double checks the scrape. The other people I've spoken to about scraping, their results have been not useful for me. So what we want to do is build those 2 pieces, and then we have a targeted list of marketing events.
So quick, just 15 seconds, overall good pitch. I think that just took a lot of time pushing on the story and
Yeah.
I understand that there's a lot of different things to tell on how this kind of came to be in the past, especially for just, but there's really power in terms of the origination of the data sets and data driven. I think that what's just important is butting it up into 2 minutes where it's a third of the story, a third of where you are, because you mentioned you have some traction, you have some pilots, you have some programs, and then you get to the last part, and we're raising $500,000
Sure.
to get to this next level, to continue traction and go back from there. So just overall the pitch, we got kind of to covering it all time frame, but try to work with that.
Awesome. Sure enough. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
So this is being live streamed?
So yeah, I'm here doing the live stream, although that my business is not doing a live stream per se. And I tell you, I got really scared when I saw you were going to be here. Because last time I saw you, I threw up right in front of you. I don't know if you remember that. I remember that. And I was like, yay, Smeet's going to be here. He's going to remember that time that, oh, we don't want to talk about it. I just got really sick that day, and I don't know. It wasn't you. I'm just telling you, it wasn't you. It was all me. So my name is Michael Holt. I'm here to talk about Real Broadcasting Company. And so, you go home after a hard day's work, a hard day at a startup for all of us. You go home, you plop down on the couch, you turn on the TV, you turn on ABC, CBS, whatever it may be. You watch the Kardashians, for the umpteenth time. You figure out what Chloe's doing, or for us geeks, you're watching Silicon Valley. For sure, if it's in season, you're watching that. But, far and wide, TV hasn't changed in 50 years. At all. Maybe they changed the way they put in ads. Maybe it's 15 minutes a day of ads for every hour versus what they did 50 years ago, which was probably 5 minutes of ads per every hour. But all in all, TV hasn't changed at all. So you say, well, I want to go watch a live stream. Okay, so you open up YouTube, you open up Facebook Live. Before you're telling me about your wedding. I would love to go watch weddings, especially if you did yours on the beach. I'm a fan of beach weddings, love it. But, how can I go find it? It's impossible to go find that unless I know you personally and am part of your Facebook feed. Say, okay, well, I can't watch the live feed. What am I going to do? Okay, well, shoot, I'll just go to Netflix and Hulu. Well, I watch a movie, it's great, and then when it's over, what happens? I got to go and find another movie. You know, it just doesn't play like TV does. You know, how can we put all those things together? So we come up with a platform, Real Broadcasting Company, that we combine all those technologies together. This is not something brand new. We take these technologies like an Apple has and take these technologies that are awesome in themselves and put them together, making one platform. So we have television, internet channels that play 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so for the broadcaster that owns the channel, for instance, I have 2 customers right now, I just happen to be churches, they own these channels, and they play 24 hours of broadcasting scheduled down to the minute. And so whether you're in Japan or Taiwan or United States, you're watching the exact same thing that somebody else in Korea is watching at the exact same time. And so let's say it's come along Sunday morning, it's time for church, they flip the switch, they go live, the channel automatically switches to live. Your viewer doesn't have to go anywhere else, go find your live stream, it just happens. Say, hey, we're live now, we're really live now actually. And so then they broadcast and then they turn their live switch off, it goes back to whatever the schedule is, which comes in really handy for quite a few reasons. One, you could schedule a commercial in the background so they could stop going live, the commercial would play that's pre-scheduled, then they go back live again, and it's like having a whole back-end broadcaster in your backyard. For a viewer, I can search my site, this site, by location, category, and keyword. You know, where can you find a live stream by location today? You can't. It's impossible. So that's one of the reasons why I built that into my platform. So what we've done is we've taken all these synergies, put them together into one platform, into one place that nobody has to go and search the internet far and wide to find content to consume for live. And that's Real Broadcasting Company.
So again, on the investment side, are you looking for money and what are you going to use it for and where's it going?
Just started a couple weeks ago looking for money. I've been the one-man band for all this time. The platform, you go online, I built the whole thing. So, you know, it's time for me to get out from behind the computer and go talk to people. Although I have a really hard time doing that, you can tell I'm kind of shy. So, just get them help. Go hire a couple of engineers, maybe a front end, a back end engineer, sales and marketing people, you know, just the works to get the business off the ground and started. That's what I need. And I need a partner to go help me. I actually started this business, long story short, with a partner who wanted to work about 10 hours for every 100 hours I put in. Didn't work. We went our separate ways. So that's kind of why I'm by myself now. And what you see is what we built. But I think it's the future for sure. And I totally believe in it. And it's a passion.
What excites you the most about the future of the business? Is it the technology and the broadcasting systems itself that you can activate so easily that you can then position out to potentially like new clients and things? Or is it just how consumers themselves are like able to tap into this and like rewatch really anything or schedule thing as well? Like what excites you more about the business? Or is there something else that you
Actually, it's both things. In my past, I've been live streaming. That's how I've been eating for the past 3 years or so. So I've been in that business side of it, you know, and I really wanted a platform of my own to live stream. And then on the other side of it, as a broadcaster, you know, so you have one channel. If you're on Facebook Live, that's crazy because nobody can find where your live streams are, and they're watched very little because nobody knows where to go find them. So my favorite part of it, get back to your question, is taking television, this tried and true technology, and moving it into the future. Me, the 45 to 48-year-old age group watching TV, you know, it hasn't changed. It's what we want. My kid, 14 years old, it's punishment for me to get her to watch TV. It's like, Dad, I want to spend time with you. Why don't I watch TV? That's okay. I've got other things to do. You know, so now we finally got a platform we can put everything together and bring television into today instead of being what the past was. My goal is to change it into the future. I don't know if you've been up or not. You remember a person named Meg Whitman?
Yes.
HB? Yeah. She just announced a company called New TV. Yep. They just announced $1 billion in funding. About 80% of what they announced is what my platform does. It blew me away. I was flattered and then scared to death all at the same time. Yeah. So
well, it definitely shows proof of concepts because every single studio is invested in it.
It's going to happen sooner, and you know it's time that you know I want to get my foot in the door and help mold that future.
Yeah, I think it's important. Sorry.
No, definitely. I was more trying to get an understanding or based on when people want to actually give you their live stream, how does that process work? So let's say I'm live streaming an event and I want it to go on Real Broadcasting. Would they come to you? Do you ask them for their geocodes and specific hashtags, or do you guys kind of do that through AI in itself? Kind of educate me.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
There are great resources out there for an event streaming. I'm not one of them.
Okay.
Today. In the future, yes. And that's for an idea I have in my head. You know, right now we have an MVP product.
Okay.
But yeah, in the future you come to us today, there are better places to help you. Right now, I'm looking to build channels that have 24 hours of content and at least be live 3 days a week, at least, you know, somewhere live, so that it stays fresh. For instance, a school is broadcasting Chemistry 101 at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's broadcasting a volleyball game at night. They finally have a TV station all their own that everybody in the world knows where they are.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you.
I got it. Sorry.
I'm Matt.
Oh, sorry. My fault.
No, we're good.
Sorry, I'm not going after other parts.
Okay, you're a bit high. All right. Can you hear me? What's that? I wear tight shirts to make me look bigger. It's just the truth. All right. I'm Matt with Condition One. Founded Condition One a couple years ago. A bit of background about myself. I was in the Marine Corps, spent 5 years. Most of my time was spent in the infantry. Don and I actually served together, and that's what led me to create Condition One. We make a mission performance bar or meal performance bar. I'd say it's probably one of the best meal performance bars on the market today, and I know it's kind of a big claim. I worked with an NSW nutritionist to come up with the bar. Can you hear me? Is that better? Yeah. Worked with an NSW nutritionist to come up with the bar, and the reason why I claim that we're the best is because out of all the organic bars on the market today, we are the most nutrient dense and we have more protein than any of them. Over the last 3 years, we've been primarily an e-commerce company, selling direct to consumer online using an order bake ship model. So another way we stand out is everything's always fresh. Customers go right on our site, order the bars, it gets made and delivered to them. Last year, we did about 80K in sales and broke even out of a small bakery in Brooklyn. Earlier this year, this summer, I decided to go full-time with the business and wholesale the bars to different gyms in the New York area. Within about a month and a half, we totally capped out our bakery's capacity, and we're now selling at about 30 gyms in the tri-state area. So we've already done 80K in sales this year. We've since moved on to a much bigger facility, so our capacity has greatly increased and our costs have like gone down a lot, thus much better margins. Our goal over the next 2 years is to acquire 20% of the CrossFit gyms nationwide. So we expect that to produce about 8 million in annual sales. And that projection is based on assumption of each gym buying 10 boxes per month. And what we're seeing right now is they're already exceeding that. We are seeing gyms go through about as much as about 40 boxes in a month. So we're doing a raise right now. We're looking for a minimum of 200K, and we'll be putting that into sales and marketing, build a team, and start scaling much faster. And that's it.
So I have the unfair advantage here across all the other structures that Matt and I have known each other for about a year or two, thanks to the fun. So I've never seen the first iteration, but you definitely come a long way, which is awesome. Starting with the pitch, you kind of nailed everything well in terms of the time frames. Obviously, we were leading a lot from the slides, so obviously I took a couple points away from it, but like that's fine. What you were doing on that level of what information was from it was perfect in terms of it was like, what was the reasoning for it? Where is it now? What's next? What was interesting too was that, and we were talking about this earlier, is you're saying that you're doing a minimum of 200K. which I think is a good perspective to do it, especially as you're talking like angel investors to institutional or venture capital firms. Because then you can at least start the conversations with like if you talk to someone who raises like 250K or puts in 250K checks or 500K checks or $1 million checks or whatever, then you can frame the conversation if it's the right fit investor. This is actually a really good point for all founders in the room is as long as you have the right fit, and it's always a two-way street between the founder and the investor, as crazy as it sometimes seems, like you're also in control of who's your company, as crazy as sometimes it seems. You can then frame the funds to it. So that's, I'm glad you did that. Overall, this is great. It's just funny because like I can't really ask questions about the rock thing because like,
You know.
did it already? So, yeah.
But if I could expand off that though, like the way that you did frame up the money, especially at the minimum side, talk about what you've done thus far this year. I mean, you clearly exceeded what you did the previous year and an extrapolated amount of time, and it's really performant to say of what you've been able to expand to. Coming from where I did when I was in the Army, we would destroy those. And when we were bullshitting outside, you were telling me how you're looking at groups and different, especially dev group and stuff like that. Like those are the people that are going to buy it on the government side.
Right.
So I see the GSA angle. I definitely see a whole lot of opportunity there, and I definitely want to keep talking to you about it because
Thank you.
It's very interesting, and what you've done thus far, and with the gyms. I mean, New York City, you've got a great opportunity for CrossFit, but when you look at that GSA side, and you go to any military base, be it conventional or non, it's just CrossFit's expanding within the market. It's a growing, just like quinoa or kale.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I love what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So maybe to blend the question with some feedback, right?
Yeah.
So the big thing why investors invest is they should get excited about what you're excited about.
Right.
Obviously, you know what you're doing. So why should someone invest in you? So maybe to kind of talk more about that and talk about maybe the return, if it's a financial thing or if you're doing something good for people, good for health, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I did my best to focus on like the metrics of the company and growth and whatnot, right? I mean, this is my passion. I love this. I've been doing this for 3 years, and there's just so many things I can talk about. I mean, part of it is we donate a portion of all our bars back to the veteran community, to different nonprofits, Recon Sniper Foundation, Force Blue, and Mission Vermont. So, I mean, there's that aspect. I'm excited to grow this, to see it grow. I think the brand has a lot of potential. The product really is good. I'd really encourage you to just try it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and then part of what you're saying is you want to make sure that you filter out your investors. That
Right.
They're the right ones too.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things I really focus on is diligence is both ways, right? So as much as someone's going to ask you a million questions, you should respectfully ask the investor. When you get to that final stage,
Right.
make sure that they're a good fit. You don't want a crappy lead investor.
You mentioned that 3 vendors reached out to you. I know Mark personally. They're great guys, investing in some fantastic some product startups like Codepax here, Will Apparel, Gangster, and Rowan is a great example, which is what leads to the next question. In terms of like the good for you, the passion for it as well, it's something that also actually raises something that you need to think about the brand of Condition 1. Now,
Right.
I think that responding with, you've got the CrossFit community that's, yes, a bit of a cult of that atmosphere, but you said it too, it's like once you get them in, they just spread like wildfire. It's word of mouth advertising, word of
Yeah.
mouth. And you say like, eat this is exactly what you need, and people just will do it. Word of mouth advertising always will be the most powerful marketing tool hands down, no matter what you do, because if someone tells you as your friends to do it, it's like they're gonna do it, or try it. So then, which raises 2 questions. One, what do you feel is the most exciting part of the brand of Condition 1 that like, when people are gonna ask you is like, what is Condition 1? Like, what's the most important thing you should recognize about it? Like, is it the product that you know that it's the right meal substitute thing for workouts? Is it just like a veteran-owned business? And then the other question is, mentioning things like Will Apparel, have you looked at
collaborations alongside spaces like this, like a Woolico or a Roan or like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we've looked at some co-branding with Black Rifle Coffee, another veteran-owned company. And to answer your question about what excites me the most, the combination of the product and the brand itself, what the brand stands for. I mean, we're real food. We're food that performs. We're not fake. We're not phony. It's actually good for you, and it will push you along further. That excites me.
Cool. I also have someone for you to talk to.
Thanks.
Oh, you need this. All right.
Just stick this in the pocket. Yeah, I just like touching people's chest.
So I found out about this at 1 o'clock. This is my first official pitch, so I'm using the phone. Sorry about that. So my name is Aaron Green. I'm a former Marine officer, and I'm building the Harry's razors for voluntary carbon offsets. I want to significantly reduce the amount of greenhouse gases we emit in order to help make sure our kids and grandkids can have a healthy future and an earth where they can actually breathe easy. Right now, scientists say we have about a 1 in 20 chance of seeing a future where the only things we have to worry about are the extinction of the world's tropical reefs, the Persian Gulf going goodbye, and sea level rising just several meters. That's like the best case scenario. But it's more likely that by around 2050, give or take, there are going to be forests in the Arctic. We're going to suffer the loss of many of the world's coastal cities. Europe will be in a permanent drought. Polynesia is going to be swallowed by the sea. The Southwest in America is going to be uninhabitable, and the Earth is going to have around 200 million climate refugees. Like, that's the most likely scenario. Best case scenario is just goodbye to the tropical reefs. But the quickest, so it's critical that humans reduce and negate our carbon footprint, or else our kids and grandkids are truly well and screwed. The quickest way to achieve this is to significantly increase the purchases of carbon offsets by individuals people like us. Currently, people only buy 1% of the world's voluntary carbon offsets. And if we can get many people on board, that is going to it's the quickest way to start slowing the Earth's warming. And there's about a $300 billion untapped individual carbon offset market right now. The current market is very fragmented, rife with corruption, inefficient, difficult to understand, and it's almost impossible for the layperson to navigate. 99% of offsets are bought by businesses, and no one has cracked the code on how to sell to individuals. People who sell offsets right now are targeting businesses and hope random people somehow find their website and complete the very complicated buying process, which when I've gone to about 10 different ones, I haven't been able to get through a single one, and I'm looking at them all. They speak to people in the same way they would speak to a business, using the same language, and this really just confuses people and turns them off. But as a reformed nonprofit fundraiser who specializes in monthly giving, i.e. recurring subscriptions, and using digital marketing and digital tools to walk people through a process and getting them to buy something that's intangible and something they can feel good about, I really see the individual carbon offset market in a very different way than everyone else actually selling offsets. And I think that they're all doing it wrong, and they're all following the herd. They're all just the lemmings falling off the side of the cliff. So I'm working to create a subscription service that will simplify the process of buying offsets and just make it easy, accessible, and desirable. So I'm starting by targeting millennial mothers, in particular, those already predisposed to buying natural, eco-friendly, and organic products. Millennial mothers are digital natives who freely give their opinion and seek opinions of others when buying things. And
I believe that I can create a viral referral program right at the start that meets mothers where they're hanging out online and will take advantage of their powerful digital voices. So I'm currently conducting customer development interviews with millennial mothers who blog about organic, natural, and eco-friendly lifestyles. And there's actually been a lot of interest, and I've even been asked to guest blog on a couple of these. So I'm currently in the process of incorporating. I don't have a name yet. I do have lawyers. I'm looking for mentors with experience in subscription services who'd be willing to sit down with me and take a deeper dive. Thank you.
So I definitely hear you at disrupting the market where like actually, you know, we're going to be doing good for the overall ecosystem.
Yes.
My question though is like when you go into specific goods, like tell me, I got a little lost, which goods are you going to be targeting to be, you know, giving to this monthly recurring subscription?
So the way carbon offsets work is that you're paying somebody else, usually in a developing country, money to start a project that will capture methane, reduce their own carbon dioxide footprint, you know, increase oxygen, et cetera. And these only count as offsets if they otherwise wouldn't have been able to do that. So this collective pooled money allows them to do that. Okay. So there are brokers, there are marketplaces, there are wholesalers, there are resellers. It all sucks. There's a few people trying to do blockchain marketplaces, but I don't think those are going to succeed if they can't actually get individuals to buy it, because we can't really count on businesses and governments to do it. So right now, I'll be taking the money and I will be going and buying the offsets. There's about 4 or 5 certifications, and you can, you know, looking for projects with 2 or 3 certifications, get a diverse portfolio. You can get everything from like super cheap wind offsets through really expensive algae offsets. A very common one is to plant trees, and that's not really a good thing. So looking for a diverse portfolio and about $4 a ton, a carbon dioxide ton to set off.
So when do you start? When does the company start?
So I mean ASAP. I have pro bono lawyers who are former military at a big law firm. They're helping me incorporate. I have to pick a damn name. I'm trying to create my landing pages and do pre-selling stuff so that I can write these blogs and actually get people to at minimum sign up and hopefully do some pre-sales.
Just quick feedback.
Yeah.
That was a good solid 5-minute pitch.
Was it 5 minutes? Holy shit.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's a general level, like how you're going through telling the story. Because it was good in terms of like recognizing the problem, coming to solutions, where things are going right now. Definitely see if you can find a way to cut down a little bit. Because like I think it's about like what you're focused on, get a quick background of what carbon offsets are, talk about the corruption schemes from it all, and then just like here's how we're going to do it, here's what we got the interest in, and then what's going to happen next.
Cool.
So, I think you can definitely get that.
Awesome.
Because I think what's also really powerful about this is that a lot of people don't understand, especially from the layman's perspective, like what carbon offsets are. And like I think that once
that's a lot of the opportunity, actually.
Right, especially because when people recognize the real benefit of it, it's like, oh, helping to like reduce the methane system, bringing it up to the level. Like the general person is going to be like, fuck yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, how can I help? I think it's also going to be really interesting on a marketing perspective as well to get more buy-in aside from the fact that business.
Cool. Thank you.
And a quick confidence feedback is don't make excuses. You just gotta-
Yeah. All right.
Just jump in it.
Good point. All right.
Just jump in it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Do you know them?
I know somebody who knows him very well.
President.
And the guy,
Former president, also Costa Rica.
Interesting. I know somebody said, you know,
Yeah, I'm good. They're looking for actually somewhere.
someone are actually not coworkers. I'm actually.
So I got it.
Okay. So I actually. Not that I president.
Well, I'm not routing it through my shirt or anything either. Also, another point is that the study just came out today that by the end of the century, most of the Earth will be uninhabitable.
That just sucks,
Right?
Okay, whatever, I'm gonna be gone.
I got no kids. I'm not kids. I'm good. All right. Hi, for those who don't know me, I'm Lana Duffy, and I am the founder of Pathfinder.vet, and I am also a U.S. Army veteran, and I went into the service with an engineering degree, an engineering master's, not a whole lot of common sense, so I decided to become enlisted instead of going officer, and worked in the intelligence fields. So I had this great engineering background, and then I did 10 years of service for my country, got hit by an IED, got a Purple Heart and some walking papers, and for those who are not familiar or not military, when the military sets you out, it doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter your service. They just hand you, maybe if you're lucky, a front and back sheet of paper that has the local resources on it. Then if you start looking for stuff, you have 46,000 nonprofits, you have all these corporate programs that are trying to raise money by doing great things for the veterans and hiring and mentorship, and schools each have their own program. Everybody's got a program, and then you ask the federal government to try and help out too, and then you get stories about the VA. So where I came into this was saying, I have no idea what to look for, and the more I started talking to people, because that's what I do, I talk. I went out to these people, I was talking to other vets, and they were like, man, it's been like this since Vietnam, only now, then we had nothing, now we have too much. And there's no good way to filter it unless you ask somebody else exactly what they used that they liked, and then is your personality similar enough that you can get along? Why isn't this on the internet somewhere? That's the only thing that kept going through my mind. And since it's not, I decided to make it. So Pathfinder.vet, if I were getting out right now, I could log onto the system as a user, as a transitioning veteran, and see and request mental health resources. I would not only get the list of mental health resources in a particular area that I wanted to find, but our machine learning and AI platforms will actually show you, based on your personality or your demographics or whatever else we have, we can match you with the top 3 to 5 that might be the best fit based on the personality metrics that we're getting from other people who are also contributing reviews. You can make your decision based on that. You can make your decision based on what other people are saying about it. Do they like it? Are the people in the front nice? And so forth. Thinking of it as like a Yelp on the front end, but then a little bit more than that on the back end, because we're going to help you make that decision and the right decision. We're also going to, we're currently building a machine learning based platform which will handhold, which will guide people through this system, and will say, all right, you're getting out in 3 months. These are the first 3 things you're going to need to do. When you're done with those, that's cool. We'll check up on you. We'll say hi and make sure you did it. And then you're going to fill out a really quick 3 to 5 minute survey on what your experience was so other people can see it. And then we're going to unlock the next thing for you to go through and get yourself reintegrated in society. The really cool thing that we're doing, and how we currently have a couple of clients for, is the other analytic piece that we do, which is we take natural language processing and we can identify markers that foundations want to know, that other funders want to know. Why would I fund your program if I don't know that it's actually reducing stress? Why would I fund your program if I don't know that the person came in there with this need and is still coming out with the same exact need? We can look just at how somebody writes a paragraph, 100 words, and we can say whether or not stress has been reduced over the course of 10 weeks when discussing this topic, and so forth. We are looking for some assistance currently in terms of investors, and that assistance would be in the neighborhood of $250,000 so that we can bring on a full-time developer. My team is myself and then several part-time folks currently, and I would love to be able to bring some of them on full-time data engineer, and some marketing so that we can get the word out to more vets in a shorter amount of time to be able to participate in the system. For example, right now you can go on Pathfinder.vet, look up vets in tech, and say like, hey, I went to the event, it was awesome. That's for you people at home too. So the $250,000 would be a great step towards making this really come together, improve our machine learning, improve the natural language processing, and make something that we can not only use with the veteran community, but show that if the veteran community can fix these problems, imagine what we could do with this. So.
So you already put this system together?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get the scale. What's your timeline?
So we are, because everybody's part-time right now, it's still pretty piecemeal, where we build out critical pieces as we can. In order to be able to have the full system completely built, if we had full-time folks, we would be able to get to a point where we're just doing system improvements within the next 4 to 6 months. And then it's just improvement on improvement on improvement. So that's the fun part about machine learning, I guess.
What I think is just really interesting about the business model itself is just the accountability in terms of working with clients and getting off there. Because I think it's a great way also of calling out organizations that are saying that they're doing stuff for veterans, but it's also like recognizing it from that level. Which then raises another key question, is that how have you thought about various ways to make revenue off of Pathfinder.vet? Because, I mean, I guess on a personal level, like, you definitely want to make sure this stays free for veterans.
Right.
But I'm just curious, especially because I'm speaking from an accountability perspective, like, it's almost like it's a way that you can push those that aren't working on it, almost like, hey, we have this data, let's fix it, contracting, etc.
So we, currently, we have two different clients right now with two very different needs. One of our clients is what we don't look at as a traditional client. We're doing like a separate tech optimization project for them using our platform in the hopes that we can then come back at them with some feedback and say, hey, you're gonna want this in future years. But the other one is much more of a traditional, what we see as a traditional client, which would be, here's an amount that's, of course, graded on the size of the organization and their donation stream. But what we want to be able to do is get, we're running essentially a year-long study for them so that they can see where a program is faltering and they can improve that program. So they have a program that they've already identified a problem with, and we are helping them pinpoint the problem and improve upon it. We're also working with some foundations whereby the foundation is telling us, hey, we're not really sure about the impact of this. Can you help us find the rough impact that they have now, that they have in 2 months, that they have in 3 months? And so we're working on partnerships with like Robin Hood Foundation, Bob Woodruff Foundation, and so forth.
Well, I think it's interesting too, just on turning around it, like the cycle is when you find the programs things that do work very well, you can also use that as tools to actually help integrate to other organizations that want to be helpful to veterans. So it's like double revenue system that you can pull from that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to definitely comment on that, because like finding that unique use case, all you can do from there is replicate it, scale out. Definitely really intriguing on what you're talking about with the NLP, because like I love AI and NLP, and hearing you bring that into your product roadmap and actually push it out, I'm intrigued. Like I'll ask the questions much later, but I kind of but awesome presentation overall. I love the way that you started off speaking about yourself, clearly showcase the problem and your solution. So great job.
Thanks.
All dressed up and no place to go. Just stick that in your pocket. Yeah.
I got it. I'm good. Thanks. So my name is Mike Kim, and you can find out about all my craziness and all my projects through MikeKimVeteran.com, MikeKimVeteran.com. I was a former monk and also in the military 3 times.